We got the first college football playoff rankings this week, and those rankings did change my opinion of where some of the teams will finish the season. So those rankings did change my predictions a little bit. I'm going to give you the updated predictions here, and I think we could pretty much, I would say for sure, but you can almost guarantee the way the rankings are going to look at the end of the season. Just based off of, like, you make your predictions, and I can pretty much tell you what the rankings are going to look like based off of those predictions, because I think the committee told us pretty much everything we needed to know with these first rankings. For example, SMU, Iowa State, Pittsburgh, they're not getting in. They're not getting in unless they win their conference championship. SMU, if they lose in the ACC championship game, they're going to be too far behind. I don't think they're going to climb into the rankings, and if they lose, they'll be right on the edge. They'll probably drop off. Iowa State and Pitt, they're too far behind. Unless these teams somehow find a way to win their conference championship, they have no chance. I can pretty much say that SMU, Pitt, Iowa State, they are eliminated from at-large contention. Now, of course, they could still win. SMU's still in control in the ACC. If they win out, they'll go to the ACC championship. They win that, they're in. But I was talking about as an at-large. So that changed my mind a little bit. Also, Boise State. So let's just jump into it, and I'll tell you when we get there. So number one seed for me is Georgia. I think Georgia wins out. I know they've struggled. I know Carson Beck has had these problems with interceptions, but I just trust Kirby Smart. I think he gets it done. I think I tell you, it's going to be tough. Ole Miss on the road. Ole Miss playing good football. This is going to be a tough game on Saturday. They don't have to win it to make the playoff, but they have to win it to get a first-round bye, in my opinion, because I don't think they're going to make the SEC championship with 2 losses. That's a huge game. Then you get Tennessee right after that. So it's going to be tough. I would actually say, is a little bit of a risky pick, but I'm going to say that Georgia does get through these 2 games. They wind up winning the SEC championship. And I'm back to Ohio State in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State wins out. I think they win the Big Ten championship. I learned my lesson. So I talked about, if you've been watching every week, I was sticking with Georgia. I was sticking with Georgia to get past Texas in that game, and then in the rankings and all that. And I changed the prediction and went with Texas instead of Georgia the week of that game, and then had to go and change it right back because Georgia won that game. So I really, last week, honestly, I didn't know if Ohio State was going to beat Penn State, and I was starting to feel like it's going to be Oregon. Ohio State's probably not even going to make the Big Ten championship, but I decided to be patient, wait, and let's see what they look like against Penn State. And they look like the real deal to me. They fixed some of those issues on the offensive line. They shuffled guys around, and it looks like they solved that issue. Will Howard didn't play great in this game, but he made plays, and that's what they've got. They've just got so many playmakers, so many guys they can depend on. I think they beat Oregon in a rematch in the Big Ten championship. I've got Miami winning the ACC. Now it looks like they're going to play SMU. That'll be a tough game for them. SMU is a good football team, but I think Cam Ward leads them to a victory. He finds a way to get the job done there in that one. All right, so the 4 seed, this is where we've made some changes based off of these new playoff rankings. I've now got Boise State as the 4 seed. When you look at where they are in comparison to all the Big 12 teams, they're not far behind BYU, and they're ahead of every other Big 12 team, which tells me if they win out, the only team that they would not be able to pass is an undefeated BYU. I think BYU probably loses a game. I don't think they're going to go undefeated. So I think Boise State actually jumps ahead of whoever wins the Big 12. And I think Boise State gets the number 4 seed. There's going to be a lot of people that are unhappy with that, but if they win out, I think that's what's going to happen. The only way that Boise State does not get the 4 seed if they win out is if BYU finishes undefeated. That's the only way. If anything else happens, I think Boise State is sitting there right there at number 4. So the 5 seed for me is going to be Oregon. I think Oregon finishes 12-0, then a loss in a rematch to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. That's going to be a great game. I think Oregon could win it again, but again, my pick has been Ohio State since the preseason. I'm not an Ohio State fan. Some people might think that. I have no reason to root for Ohio State. It's just kind of a gut feeling, and that's how it's been. Just for reference, last year it was Michigan. I stuck with Michigan all year, so obviously I'm not an Ohio State fan, or I'm not showing any bias there, even if I was a fan. But Oregon at number 5, I think they, again, go 12-0, then lose to Ohio State. I got Texas at number 6. Back and forth on that Texas A&M game. Last week I was thinking Texas A&M probably wins it. Now I'm thinking Texas. They find a way to get it done on the road, go to the SEC championship, and I think they lose again to Georgia. And then we go to a number 7, Penn State. I think they went out. Not a great resume, but if you look at where they're ranked now, I think Penn State finishes at number 7. All right, number 8 for me is Notre Dame. I think they went out. Pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. You look at where they're ranked now. I think they are safely in if they win out. Number 9, Tennessee. Tennessee takes a loss to Georgia, but the committee has shown they don't really penalize teams much for losing to the top teams. I mean, look at where Penn State is with the loss to Ohio State. Look at where Texas is with the loss to Georgia. I don't think Tennessee falls too much if they lose that game, and I think they take care of business in their other games. They get to number 9. And then at number 10, we've got LSU. I think LSU wins out. I think they beat Alabama on Saturday. Not quite enough to actually, and maybe I messed up here, but I don't know what the tiebreaker would look like with Texas, Georgia, and LSU. So I'm going to have to look into this a little bit further next week. But again, I'm just kind of playing the odds here of what's most likely to happen. Maybe LSU, well, if they lose the game, they're not going to get in. So maybe that's just an error on my part. But I think it could come down to strength of schedule because these teams don't play each other. They don't all play each other. And Georgia definitely has the toughest schedule. So I do think Georgia is going to be in there. And again, Texas, LSU, I don't know who that'll be. I'll try to look into all the tiebreaker scenarios next week. But either way, I think LSU, even if they go 10-2 and then lose to Georgia, I think they still get in. I don't think they're going to, again, they're not going to get penalized for losing to Georgia, just like Texas didn't get penalized, and Penn State really didn't get penalized much for losing to Ohio State. So I do think those two teams get in. Maybe the seeding's a little bit different, and again, I'll have to dig a little bit deeper into those tiebreaker scenarios because I know some people are going to talk about head-to-head in those three teams, but none of them, I guess, well, Georgia beat Texas. Texas and LSU don't play, so you can't go with that. You're probably going to have to go down the line in the list of tiebreakers. But anyways, let's get back to the predictions here. Number 11, BYU. So I think BYU slips up. Maybe they lose at Utah this weekend in a rivalry game. But I think this team wins the Big 12. I think they are able to get it done. I'm going to have them winning the Big 12 championship. So whoever wins the Big 12, I think they're going to be at 11 or 12, assuming Boise State wins out. And then finally, at number 12, I've got Indiana. I think Indiana loses to Ohio State. They don't have a great resume, but if you look where the committee has them now, I think they're high enough that they can survive that loss and still get in the college football playoff. BYU as a conference champion, just ahead of Indiana in this scenario. So that's the field. That's what I think it's going to look like right now. Really not a lot of other contenders. I mean, if Ole Miss beats Georgia, they're in the race here. If a team slips up, maybe SMU could sneak in there. But it's unlikely. Again, looking at how things are now, like I would be surprised if the committee put a 3-loss Alabama in over SMU because, well, just because that's what they do. But you look at Ole Miss, like I said, you look at Texas A&M. If they can beat Texas, maybe they get in there. So there are a few other teams that play here, but I don't think there's a lot. And then you look at the group of 5 team. If it's not Boise State, I don't know who it's going to be. Probably whoever wins the American. And that's going to be a really interesting conference race there. So I'm going to quickly go through the predictions. Again, these are hypothetical matchups, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to go with Tennessee. I think they have more playmakers on offense. That's going to be the difference. 2 good defenses going at it there. I'm going Vols. I think Oregon over Indiana. Remember, they don't play in the regular season, so that will be a first-time matchup there. I'm going with LSU. James Franklin cannot win big games. I'm going with the Tigers in that game. Texas should easily beat BYU. Then we go Georgia, Tennessee in a rematch here. I got to go Georgia. Again, in the playoff, it's hard to pick against Kirby Smart, and I think they're a little bit better team than Tennessee. Oregon, I think they win this game actually easier than the first game. They beat Boise State. They advance. Ohio State, too much for LSU. Give me the Buckeyes there. Texas, Miami. This one's a tough one. Cam Ward has shown he can win games pretty much by himself, but he can also almost give games away by himself. I'm going to go with Texas. They're just the more complete team. And we get back to these 4 teams. So these are the 4 teams for quite some time now. We felt like these were the top 4 teams, and we are right back to the same place with these 4 teams. I made some changes throughout the weeks, but again, now we're right back to, I think, our original preseason predictions for the Final 4. I think Georgia beats Oregon. Now that'd be a great game. That would be a great game. And I don't feel confident saying that. I think these are 2 of the top 3 teams in the country, but I'm going Georgia. Ohio State beats Texas, and again, I'm going to stick with with the team. Ohio State, I've had them since the preseason. No reason to change it up now. They answered the questions that I needed to see answered on Saturday against Penn State. I think it's the team of destiny this year. They won the first 4-team playoff. I think they're going to win the first 12-team playoff. That's been my prediction, and that's still my prediction. Love to get your predictions, your thoughts on the playoff. Who do you think is going to get in? Who do you think is going to win it all? Let me know down in the comments below.